Hi, I'm Kat and I play Red. If you watched any of our car park videos from Essen Spiel, you'll know we had a load of new stuff and we can finally move on to it now because we've had time to play things a few times and mull them through. This is one of the things I'm most excited about. I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anyone, but today we are going to have a look at Atiwa, designed by Uwe Rosenberg and published by Lookout Games. It's got bats. Let's have a look at it. The Atiwa range is in southeast Ghana. It consists of steep slopes with flat summits. A large portion of this range is an evergreen reserve, which is home to many endangered species. However, logging and hunting is putting this under pressure. Meanwhile, in the nearby town, farmers are giving shelter to fruit bats as people recognise their value. They sleep during the day and fly off at sunset looking for food. As they fly, they poop out seeds of the last fruit they ate. A single colony of fruit bats can reforest up to 2 acres a year. In Atiwa, you will develop a small community, create housing for families, acquire new land, manage your animals and resources while encouraging bats and avoiding pollution. The game is played over 7 rounds, which are marked by these action tiles here. Each round has a work phase where players will take 3 turns each, followed by a maintenance phase which players can do simultaneously. In your turn, you will place a worker, activate it, then play will move to the next player. So you'll get 3 turns each round. No more, no less. There's no way to get extra workers here. In fact, most of your resources in this game are limited. All wild animals, trees, fruits, families, goats come from your player board here. The only things you're going to take from and pay to the bank are gold and bats. So let's have a look at these worker placement spots on the board. Obviously, a lot of them are just going to gain you resources. So here you're going to get 2 wild animals. Here you're going to get 2 trees and a gold. Here, bats, goats, wild animals, trees, etc. Don't forget as well that these will all come off your player board, not from the bank. Let's have a quick look and take some stuff. So if I go here, I'm going to take 2 wild animals which come off my player board. So we take 2 wild animals. Now obviously I can put one onto the space with the matching symbol. Now you're going to say, what do I do with the second one? Because there's no other spaces marked for wild animals. Well, if you have a blank space, you can always place something that is already on that card. So I couldn't place like a goat here or a bat here. However, because I have this one wild animal, I can place that there. And that will apply to anything. If I had a tree here, I could place a tree in the blank spot, and so on. When you gain families, shown here and on your cards here, they have an untrained side and a trained side. Now, if they're trained, not only do they give you space for a bat, but they're actually going to get you gold in the income phase. If they're untrained, you're going to get a penalty in the form of pollution, but we'll look at that when we look at the income phase. Pop that back. Now, there are two types of cards in this game. Terrain and location. So the terrain is up the top here and the locations are at the bottom. You're going to place a worker on the space and take the cards. Now, your terrain cards at the top here are free, and in fact they actually give you stuff when you take them. When you take them, you're going to place them into your area adjacent to another card. Location cards, however, have a cost, as shown here. Each has 2 work placement spots, and the second spot is actually going to cost you 1 gold more. So if I'd gone here, my opponent would have to go there, but it would cost them 2 gold rather than the 1 gold I'd paid. The other thing that happens here is you're going to get the first player token, which is this very adorable little bat. This can swap between players multiple times in a turn, and that's fine. Where it lands is the first player for the next round. After any of your worker actions, you can take a bat action. So let's have a look. Oh, except I can't have. Let's say I bought this card and I have some bats. So 1, 2, 3. So after any of your worker placement action, you can actually take 3 bats from your tableau and put them onto the knight card. This will allow you to, oops, let's do this. Take a fruit from your tableau, put that back, and essentially exchange it for a tree. So you're going to be able to do this 3 times possibly over the course of the round if you have enough bats. So you'd need 9 bats, and you get to do it each time you place a worker. So that would be 3 times in a turn. So let's put the stolen bats back and the stolen trees and the stolen card, and let's take some actions. I don't know if I want those for now, so I'm going to put those back too. So let's have a look at my 3 actions. Now, if I was the starting player, I would actually start with one of them. In a 3-4 player game, players will start with different resources, which is actually shown on our card here. So the first player would get the start player, second player gets a wild animal, bats and goats. So that's all shown here. So let's have a look at what I might want to do. I need some villagers, so I'm actually going to place there. So this symbol allows me to take a hut, which I'm going to do and pop on my card. Then the second action here allows me to train them. So I'm going to just flip them over to the train side. Now my other actions, I just need some stuff really at this point. I'm going to go here, which gets me a goat. So again, from the player board onto the marked spot, and a tree, which I'm going to put there. Now I'm going to look to expand my tableau. So I want one of these cards. I don't know which I want. I can also choose to take from the top of the deck, but actually I think I want some fruit for now. So I'm going to go there. I get a tree and a fruit. Oops. And that's going to go, oh, see, I've run out of space on my card, but because I have a tree, I can place the tree on the blank space. So I'm going to pop that there and take this card. Now, I can place it, obviously, to either side or underneath. For now, I'm just going to put it there. To be honest, the placement doesn't make a huge difference other than keeping track of where things is. Once all players have taken their free actions, you're going to move on to the maintenance phase, which has this very handy cheat sheet. Once you've played the game a couple of times, you can all do this simultaneously. Now, the maintenance phase has 7 steps, which initially seems terrifying, but they're all quick and you do them simultaneously and they're all here. So it's nowhere near as scary as you initially think. So the first thing you're going to do is income. You're going to collect 1 gold per trained family and draw 1 pollution for each untrained family. So in this case here, I have a trained family. I'm just going to take a gold. However, if my family was untrained, I'd have to take pollution. So we're going to take the pollution bag, whole bag full of pollution, that's nice, and draw a tile. Now, these are all the same on the front, and on the back, they may or may not have goodies. This has nothing, so I get nothing. Now, I'm going to place this on the first card of my top row, and it's going to go in the middle, and it's going to block that space forever. Pollution can never be removed. If I'd had something on that space, then I would lose whatever it was. So pollution is bad, children, but we kind of knew this. But I'd trained my family, so I don't get pollution. I'm smart. Then we're going to move on to our player board here, and we're going to look at the wild animals, trees and fruit in order to collect income. Now, I haven't got enough wild animals to get any trees, so I get 0 trees. However, I get 1 fruit here, so I take that off my board, pop it onto a tree. Generally, fruit is going to hang out in your trees. However, there are some cards that allow you to put it in a space of its own. But for now, we'll do that. Then I'm going to get 1 bat. So I'm going to take my bat. Now, don't forget, my bat could go in the house. But I'm going to start kind of populating this card and put it there. The third part of the maintenance phase is to return any fruit bats on your night card back into your tableau, which we don't have. Then in true Uwe Rosenberg fashion, we've got the feeding phase. So that is going to be the difference shown between here and here. So my families need 1 food and my goat is going to provide them with 1 food. So I'm actually well balanced at the moment. However, if I'd had a second family down, I'd need 3 and I'd only have 1. At which point, again, classic Uwe, you're going to start sacrificing stuff for food. So you can sacrifice a goat for 3, a wild animal for 2, fruit for 1, gold for 1, and bats for 1. Now, obviously, if you use any of these, they're going to come off your tableau and into your back onto your player board. After the feeding phase, you're going to move on to the breeding phase. Now, I'm going to pop him flat. The breeding phase varies from round to round. For the first round though, if I had 2 families or more, I'd get 1 more, which I don't, so I get nothing. 1 bat, well, I've got 1 bat, so I get another 1. And I'm going to put him there. Oh, am I? Yep, I'm going to pop him there. And then wild animals here, I have 1, so I'm going to get 1. So even if I had 10 of these, I'd still only get the 1 as a bonus. So I'm going to put them on that marked square there. Then you're going to return your workers and you're going to get ready for the next round. Any terrain cards at the top here that haven't been bought are going to be discarded, and we're going to refill this here. Ah, there we go. There's one of the cards that allows you to just put fruit down. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to move this action tile to there. Partly so we know we're in the second round, but also because it means the actions here are going to be changing. If you remember, initially this let me take a family. Now it's going to let me put a bat in an unoccupied house and flip a family. So this is how you also mark the rounds. So 7 rounds, 7 spaces here. At the end of the round here, if I have a goat, I'm going to get one. If I have 5 bats, I'm going to get an extra, and 4 wild animals will get me one. Again, there's a handy cheat sheet that tells you what's coming up and what you're going to breed in each round. So if you're very clever, you can think about these in advance and build towards those things. Obviously, the game is played over 7 rounds total, so you're going to get 21 actions. We're not going to go through all of that though. All of these actions here are going to give you stuff. And don't forget, it always comes off your player board unless it's bats or gold. However, these actions work a little differently. Now, this is set up for 2 players. If you see, there are the 2 people in the corner there, and there's more people and more places on the other boards. These ones here are going to give you gold for every one of these symbols in your tableau. Now, these symbols you're going to get from the terrain cards here. See the little symbol there? So if you have a lot of these and you take these actions, you're going to get good stuff. Then, so this one gives you gold for every plant in your tableau. This one here will let you train families for every plant in your tableau. Then these other actions here, if you have 4 cards in your tableau, you're going to get to flip and train a family. And this one here, if you have 4 cards in your tableau, you're going to gain 1 gold. These bottom actions don't increase with more cards, however, the top ones do. The other thing to point out is the location cards. So obviously these ones here are the cheapest, the farmsteads. They allow you 1 family and some other stuff. Then we move on to the settlements, which are going to cost you more, but allow you 2 families. The villages, 3 families, and the towns, 4. And you'll notice on the top here is points. So your farmsteads are only worth 3 points at the end of the game. However, the towns are worth 13. Each of the terrain cards also has points in the top corner. These are all just worth 1 point. However, there are some of these that are worth negative points at the end of the game. So keep an eye out for that. Obviously, the cards themselves are pretty good, but you are going to get negative points. You're going to play the 7 rounds. At the end of the 7th round, you're going to do maintenance to phase 6, and then you're going to do end game scoring. So for endgame scoring, we have a little score pad. We do like a score pad. I tend to keep these on the table during the game so you know exactly what you're going for. So let's have a look at what you do score points for. You're going to get 1 point for every gold you have. So gold is pretty valuable. You're then going to get the points for your cards that I mentioned on the top corner of your terrain and location. You're then going to get points from your player board. So you'll notice there's little black numbers and arrows. So here I'd get 1 for my tree. I'd get 1 for my fruit. Actually, do you know, I get 1 for everything except for the wild animals. However, over the course of the game, you're obviously going to be taking these off and placing them into your tableau. So like here, I'd get 3 points for my trees. So during the last round, when you're feeding and you're putting stuff back on the board to feed, keep an eye on what is going to give you the most points. You're then going to get 1 point for every trained family. Then you're going to get points for bats. Now, to score points for bats, you must have more than 10. The first 10 will give you 0 points. However, any after that will give you 1 each. So if I had 12 bats, I'd get 2 points, and so on. Last but not least, the dreaded lack of food. So if at any point in the game you can't feed your families, you're going to get -2 points. So I think what you're supposed to do is just put a little tally if you have any of those, and then they're -2 points each. You're going to add up the total, and the player with the most points is the winner. I was a little bit excited for Atiwa. It's got bats, it's Uwe Rosenberg. It looks very typically like his old school games. I have to say, I've not been disappointed. I'm not a fan of his polyomino games. I do like the big, chunkier games. Now, this isn't a Halatu or a Feast for Odin. It's definitely more close to Glass Road. Now we've played this a few times, we can play it pretty quickly. But it's deceptively clever, and I really enjoyed that. It is about the balance of everything on your player board. So if you have lots of trees out, you're going to get the fruit, and the fruit you can then use to feed your families. So it's kind of about balancing stuff on here. When you buy new locations, you're going to put trees back, but then you need to get them back out to get the fruit. So it's constantly juggling stuff on and off of this player board. And bearing in mind the theme of this game, it makes sense that it's all about balance. It's definitely lighter than I think I was initially expecting. That doesn't mean I've been disappointed. I enjoy this. I enjoy the theme. I love the bat meeples. It definitely feels like a return to the older Uwe's, especially with your feeding and breeding phases, which, you know, if you've played anything by him, you know how it works, and you know how brutally you can get beaten over the head if you don't feed families. I picked this up at Essen. I think it's kind of coming soon, probably end of this year, start of next year for a lot of places. I like it, and I'm glad I like it. I was horribly disappointed in Cottage Garden because that had cats and was Uwe Rosenberg, so I was excited about that, and I didn't enjoy that. This I like. This is good, and it's got bats. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, click like, subscribe, all that stuff. You know what to do. I tell you this every time. Then come and say hello on the socials. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll be at BGGCon in Dallas in a few weeks. I can't think about how soon it is because I'm not organised. So if you're there, come and say hello. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.